जॉब चाहिए तो ध्यान से सुनना.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 8 of How I Made It. I'm Anushka with my co-host Junaid. Junaid, so why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest?
So hey everyone, we are back. I know we took a long break from this, but yeah, we are back with another exciting set of guests. And today we have with us Darshil Agrawal. He's a senior from CSE branch, batch of 2021. Last year he got one of like Apple's WWDC Swift Student Challenge. Like he won that championship, and then he moved on to get an offer from Swiggy as an iOS developer. So apart from that, he's really into Web3 and blockchain and that whole space. So we are really we're really going to cover a lot of ground in this episode about two very different topics. One is like iOS development, the Apple's ecosystems and what a developer can do in that ecosystem, and then we can move on to this very new wild Web3 space, blockchains, NFTs. So we'll have all that. Darshil, thank you so much for taking the time. We know we had this planned, but then things got in between. So thank you so much.
Thanks
So
for
yeah,
having me.
cool. I'll just go ahead with the first question. Tell us about like your college journey. What like the past 4 years have been like for you? Because I think I remember last time we had a chat, you said like you wanted to do something different, and you had that craze that I'll try to do something different than what most people are doing. So you picked iOS. I just want to know about that journey. What your plan and journey has been like for the past 4 years, I guess.
Yeah, sure thing. So, like when I was in college, like the offline thing, I wasn't doing a lot in terms of development, but I was definitely trying to do something which not a lot of folks were doing. Like if there was any photography competition or any quiz or any extra co-curricular thing which was out there, I was trying to take part and just stand out or like try to do something which makes me me. Like, okay, this is Darshil Agrawal. He does something which not a lot of folks are doing, and that really helped. So, I guess iOS started definitely after the lockdown.
Okay.
So before the lockdown, I was in college. I was just doing co-curriculars, and I was good at studies. Like I scored a 10 GPA in my first semester of college, which was quite
Damn.
dope for me. Like I even got the scholarship for that. But it was just the studies at that point of time. Like I was not doing development. I was not doing any kind of competitive coding or anything at all. Like it was just sticking to the syllabus and doing what the teachers were telling me to do in the classes. And we all know that's not enough at all. Like if you even want to just land a very basic or simple internship nowadays at any like internship as well, you need to have some skill or something which differentiates you, and so that they can select you. I'm not talking about the paid internships. Like I'm talking about the internships where you are getting paid, not the other way around. So like that's why I was definitely not confident with myself at that point of time that I'll go into development. My whole mindset was to go into sales and marketing. Like I really like talking to people. I guess that is the biggest differentiator when it comes to me, that I like talking to people more than I like talking to machines. So I even applied for some sales and marketing gigs in college. Like there's this company you might have heard of called HRC, and I applied for its sales and marketing department, and I even landed that internship, and I was in there for 2 or 3 days, I guess. But then I realized ki nahi bro, this is not happening. So I started searching for an iOS role because iOS was something I was doing in the sidelines and I was a bit confident about it. And then I landed that internship, and everything else started to like roll. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But one thing which really helped me during this whole time was GitHub. So this is something I'm really happy about, that I started doing GitHub. And I was not doing, I'll be very honest about it, I was not doing GitHub to open source per se. I was using GitHub as a like a developer calendar for me. Like every day I'll try to do something new, I will try to learn something new, and based on that I got a hang of that green dots which appear on the heat map of our profile. I was really addicted to it. So I have like there were days I was not near my laptop. I just tried to Google something or learn something new and did those changes on my phone as well. So it was like that craze which really helped me and pushed me to like land an internship at Swiggy.
Oh wow. About that GitHub thing. So yeah, I have like, I know consistency, how much consistency matters, and I've seen it like in good engineers. If you like, even at my like where I work, some of the best engineers I know, they are like super consistent, and they always have like this phase in their journey where they like took consistency very seriously. So I can see that in your journey as well, that you had that phase of no, I'll just push every single day, and try to do something, like could be small, could be big, but just get that momentum rolling. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Anushka, do you want to ask?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, fine. Let's move on to the next question then. About WWDC, how did you exactly found out about it, and what exactly is it? Can you elaborate on that for our audience?
Sure thing. So WWDC stands for Worldwide Developer Conference. It's an event which happens every year. We see new technologies rolling out by Apple every year during that particular event, and I got to know WWDC because I had a Mac. That too, just because I liked the touchpad of that Mac, so I wanted to have that. If that thing wouldn't have taken place, then I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. So WWDC, to elaborate on the technical side of it, so anyone who is into Swift, like anyone who is into the iOS ecosystem and is a student, so it can be an undergrad or any sort of student who is like learning something, they need to have a STEM course going on. They can participate in that event, and they need to make a playground. So a playground is basically like, how do I elaborate it? So a playground is like a book. It's like a digital book in which you try to tell a story of any particular problem which you face, or any particular problem which you're trying to overcome. Now, since I was really into cryptography at that point of time, I decided to make a playground book about cryptography. So it was like a basics, like a crash course to cryptography per se. And Apple has a particular SDK which revolves around cryptography, and it's not very well explored. Like people don't use it generally. So I guess that also helped. And once I submitted it, I really focused on the design part of it, the story part of it, and obviously the code part of it. Like it should work. Like the first thing was that it should work, and after that I started to focus on the designs and everything. And yeah, I guess the folks liked it, and I got through.
That's great. Yeah. We were very excited to discuss this part because not a lot of people, at least in our college, are into like iOS and that whole development. I guess that like comes with the whole like you have to have a MacBook wala thing, but I'm sure like this episode will help those people just explore, and even like Google ki okay what Apple's because after I started using a Mac, I understand like how deep this ecosystem is and what are all the things you can build. So that's great. So I'll let's just like address the elephant in the room. I just want to know everything about Swiggy and like how it happened, what it happened. So just can you go through that whole story of just from the application process, then like your interviews, and then we'll also talk about the kind of problems you work on as an iOS engineer there. So can you just like go walk us and the audience through that whole journey?
For sure. Like, that will be really great. So Swiggy also happened sort of by mistake. I was on LinkedIn one day and I saw this post of this gentleman who works in Swiggy called Agrawal. And it was a post regarding applications for SDE 1, 2 and 3. They were not accepting freshers. It was just for the SDE roles, and it was pretty straightforward. But I thought like, why not give this a shot? Because at that point of time, I was rejected by CRED. So I applied for CRED to be an intern, as an iOS intern. I made it to the third round. But since they were not accepting interns at that point of time, I couldn't make it through. But I was like, okay, I like the application. I want to work with these folks. So let's just shoot my shot. And I wrote that I've been like working for a year. So the information was definitely true. I was working as an iOS engineer for like iOS developer for almost a year at that point of time. And I wrote that my experience is 1 year and this is my resume, and they saw that I have done internships. And at that point of time I was also a GitHub extern, so that
Oh.
also helped. Like I had some accolades in my resume per se, which helped. And he replied back saying that hey, we are not accepting, like we can't offer you an SDE one because you're still in college, but we can offer you an internship, would you like that? And that's all I wanted. Like I just wanted that one message ki, would you like that? And after that I was like, I'll definitely love to be a part of the team. And then we had like it was a huge gap in between, so I even talked about that gap to him, like after I got into Swiggy, that why did it took so long to process my application, and why did it take like almost 1.5 months. He was like, before you got in, we were only accepting folks from BITS or IIT, or like we were only going the on-campus route per se for this particular thing. When it comes to college, like obviously after college they are like hiring people from everywhere and anywhere who are good at this stuff. But when college comes into play, they were mainly focusing on BITS or IITs. But they liked the resume, like he liked my resume, so he talked to the HR, and there were some changes which were needed to be done, and which took some time. But once the interview process started, they liked that they did that change, and they were happy with my performance in the interview and the work afterwards as well. If I talk about the interviews, the first round was basically just about iOS. So there were the basics of iOS, and I had done some iOS related interviews. They generally revolved only around iOS, but the interview experience over here was a bit different. Like they wanted to know why I do things. Like we had like a 10-15 minutes discussion about why do you do GitHub, what motivates you to do daily commits, and if there are so many repositories which you are looking after, don't you think the quality of your work will degrade? Like there were some not philosophical per se, but deep discussions which took place in that interview, which showed that they are really interested and they want good candidates who are really passionate about that, like that particular thing. And they liked the answers in that first round, and the technical part was also like correct. So I made it to the second round, which was PSDS, which is problem solving and data structure. Okay. Now, to be extremely honest, I'll use this sentence quite a lot of times, to be extremely honest, because this will definitely not sound true. But I have never done lead code. I have never been to Hacker Rank, Hacker Earth, Code Forces. Like the max I have done is some questions in GFG, that too in peer pressure mainly. But since I have not touched a lot of the DSA aspects of thing, I was not very confident about that round initially. And so since I was focusing on my development, DSA portion was a bit unpolished, to be honest. And once the round started, I was very clear about this fact that, hey, like I have been working on the iOS side of things for this much amount of time. So my DSA portion is not very polished, but I'll try my best to like answer the questions and like basically solve the questions. And he was like, we are completely cool with it. Like we just want to see the aptitude which you have and how are you solving these questions. So I don't remember the exact questions, but the second questions was around some two sorted arrays which needs to be merged in O of n or O of log n, something like that. And I had never looked at that question, but I tried to deduce that question, and I was talking to him constantly, like what is going on in my mind and how I'm trying to approach the problem. And eventually the answer was right, like it was the correct solution, and it was not a polished answer, but it conveyed the message. Like the message was clear across the table that this individual can think of a problem even if he's not aware of it from the beginning. And that happened, and after that there was no other rounds. Like I waited for a week or two after that, and then I got my internship letter and the internship started. and that was around August of last year. So yeah, August 19th August. Yeah,
Okay.
my internship started on 19th of August.
Awesome. That's great, yeah. Like two like very big lessons that I can see that we also try to just through this podcast tell is number one, apply for roles that don't specifically have an intern as a job title, because a lot of time even Priyansi has that experience that there was not an opening but you still applied, and the person reviewing your application liked it and they were like, we can like hook you up with an internship. And
Mhm.
another one was like, it's not always compulsory to just grind lead code and grind DSA. So awesome, yeah. Like it's I'm sure like this adds a lot of perspective to other students who are like maybe struggling with DSA and have interest in other things as well.
Mhm.
um Great, yeah. So now like I want to ask, just like, okay, so now you work there, right? Like what are the kinds of
Mhm.
problems you're working on? So people are always interested in like, how do I get in? But we also like to talk about, okay, once you get in, what kind of things you work on, what kind of like challenges you face, how do you overcome them, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So my particular stream right now is called TNA, which stands for
Mhm.
Traffic and Acquisition. So
Okay.
our primary role is to acquire new customers or reinitiate the dormant customers which are not ordering on the app very frequently. We want you guys to order as much as possible, and that's our job. Like, please order more food, eat food. So as a part of that, our primary focus is on push notifications, making the whole app a lot more smoother in terms of onboarding new users, and applying like giving coupons to the users who are not dormant. So calculating whether the user has not ordered for a long time, then trying to like incentivize them to order again. This is when it comes to TNA. But apart
Mhm.
from that, since the environment at Swiggy is like a startup itself, like it's a very fast-paced startup. Like, I shouldn't call Swiggy a startup at this point because it's a
Yeah.
decagon now, but
Yeah.
like the environment there is still like a startup.
Mhm.
There's a team of iOS folks, like 30 individuals work, 30
Mhm.
individual work as iOS devs at Swiggy, and the whole team sits together to discuss the problems which will come forward, or like if there is any blocker, everyone is like welcome to discuss it and get it solved. So I worked on other projects as well which were not a part of TNA. So there's a very huge project in the pipeline right now, which has rolled out on Android and some percentage of users for iOS as well, which was basically like a whole user experience revamp. Like, we literally changed the whole UI of our app. If you open the app and you are a part of that small niche audience right now who is under testing, like
Yeah.
then you can see that revamp, but it will be rolled out to all the users, and once that's done, it will be the new face of Swiggy. So I was part of that revamp which took place. Apart from that, I tried to pick dev tasks. So there have been times, so there won't be something to do at every point of time. If I have a task which has a deadline of, say for example, 5 days, and I
Mhm.
have completed that task in 2 or 3 days, I still have 2 days remaining, and I can't sit idle on those 2 days. Like, that's something which does not excite me.
Yeah.
So for one dev task, I decided to go like have a look at the whole Swiggy iOS code base and try to find problems in it. So I was trying to find for memory leaks, or some data retention cycles which might be happening, or something which looked skeptical or might cause a crash. And
Mhm.
I was able to find some small problems, so I changed them, and like I raised a PR, and my manager was also happy about it. Ki, हाँ, you are trying to do something, and yeah, so basically just trying to be as close to the code of the app as much as possible, and make it better for the end users. And apart from that, there's one other thing which I'm also doing as of now, in terms of Swiggy, is if you are an iOS user and you go to the App Store, there are small release notes which come for
Oh,
every release.
yes,
Like
yes.
hey, so this is new, we have done something cool. So that was pretty dormant for a long time. But I
Hmm.
was like, why? Like all the cool startups and all the good apps in the Play Store or the App Store are really focusing on that. And you see a lot of LinkedIn posts as well, like, oh, so so Slack came up with something
Yep,
cool,
yep.
and they're like, oh, they are so nice. I was like, why can't we do this as well? So they're like, okay, go ahead. They gave me that leeway. So now for every release which comes to iOS, I try to write something cool or funny, like something which is funny to me, and something which is a bit quirky. So if you have a look at that and you like it, feel free to post on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I remember like watching that the same thing was Slack. So they were like, "Oh, are you
Uh-huh.
doing well? Just take a break, have a
Uh-huh.
water." Yeah, so it was so fun, and I remember at my company people are talking like, "Oh, like we should also do something like this." So like fun release notes. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
The breakthrough that you had on your internship, like what do you have to have for that? Like, do you need to have a very strong resume and be very good in the coding stuff, or how was it for you?
Okay. So for me specifically, I don't think you need a very strong resume. I mean, it should be a bit eye-catching. Like the individual who is reviewing your resume should see that okay, this fellow is passionate about what he's doing. Like I had a discussion with my now manager who referred me at that point of time regarding how I got like selected, and he had a really simple answer to that. Ki the individuals who were interviewing you had one common point during both the rounds, that you are really passionate about what you do, and especially during the iOS round, I was extremely passionate about the answers. Like, say for example, it's a very basic question: ki how do you load cells in a table view? It's a very common questions in terms of iOS. Ki how do you load cells in terms of table view? So I talked about the delegates and talked about the crashes which might happen and how I have done this, the problem which I have faced in my previous internships while doing this, and why I avoid those particular things now. So it's about the passion in your answers which matter the most. One, obviously, you need to have some concrete things in your resume so that you get to the interview part of things. But once you are in that interview, I think how you present yourself or how you show, like, you can't fake your passion, but if you're really passionate about what you are interviewing, it's going to be good for you. That's what I think.
Passion.
Yep, that's the one
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
I can also see a lot of like the way you answer that. I can see that you have a lot of attention to detail in terms of these things, because
Mhm.
that also impresses like senior engineers a lot when like a candidate has a lot of attention to detail and they just know ki, like, okay, this is what can go wrong, this is what will go right, this is how I recover and stuff. So that's great.
Yep.
So I think we have Anushka. Do you have any more questions around iOS or anything? Because I think we covered that arc. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. So, what are the opportunities in the iOS domain that we can find?
Okay. So, in terms of opportunities, sadly, you won't find them. Like, you won't find any opportunity in college. Like, I remember I was when the placement season started, or when the company started to pour in, I was looking at all the companies which are coming in, and there was not even a single company which had iOS or Swift or Apple, like anything closely closely related to the ecosystem mentioned in their document, but there were none. So, what I did was on Internshala, you can find a lot of internships. Don't go for the ones which are unpaid or the ones which you need to pay for. I have a very strong opinion regarding that. Ki if you are getting paid to do something, there will be that conscience going on in your head that okay, these guys are paying me. I can't mess around, or like I need to give them the best output possible. I mean, there will be individuals who will still fool around, but for most of us, that conscience will kick in, and that will help us to grow and learn more as the internship progresses. And apart from that, there are a lot of open source opportunities as well. So GSOC, for example, has a particular iOS specific internship, like what is it called? The GSOC scholars, right? Like what is it called? Do you remember the term?
Not really.
The
But
Google
I've seen
Summer of
like
Code.
yeah, I've seen some projects that Apple puts up, I think.
Correct. So
Yeah.
also VLC was putting up iOS related projects
Mhm.
in GSOC for the folks who are working in this ecosystem. Apart from that, there was this GitHub externship which was happening. So over there, I applied for this Swift wala role, and the individual who was interviewing me at that point of time was really excited to know that okay, people are working into iOS, and I won that WWDC thing. Like he was excited about it. So if you are into this field, you will find opportunities, but they won't be anywhere near you. You need to like search a little bit, but the opportunities will be really good.
I
Also,
really want to know.
all the yeah, go ahead.
I really want to know about your journey on WWDC. If you can tell us about the ideas that you had and how you walked through the whole process
Sure
of
thing.
WWDC.
So what happened is, last year was 2021, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. So, in the year 2020, after like the lockdown thing happened, I came back to my home, and at that point of time, I saw that WWDC student scholarship is happening. I knew about WWDC before that as well, but I never looked at this scholarship thing. And once I got to know about it, I was like, I need to apply over here, and I need to build something which is worthwhile. So I started looking at all the possible things, but I didn't come to any conclusion or anything concrete till a month before WWDC actually happened. So my project was around cryptography because I was interested in cryptography at that point of time and right now as well. And it's a crash course for cryptography. So anyone who is completely new or does not know anything about hashing, salting, or encryption, decryption, or magic key, or all the concepts which are there in all the basic concepts which are there in cryptography, and some advanced concepts like elliptic curve cryptography as well. I have tried to cover all of them in a manner which is understandable to everyone. So if there are complex terms, I have added glossaries to them. I have tried to make it as much pictorial as possible, and like it's a good playground. I can send over a link as well, which
Yeah.
can be a part of this, which shows that okay, it's quite understandable, and that's something Apple liked. So adding to that, I also have one other point. If you apply for WWDC, let's just call it dub. Like dub is much easier, and that's what. So I was not knowing about this dub thing, but once I was there in those meetings which are happening in Cupertino, like I didn't go to Cupertino, but the meetings were happening in Cupertino, and I was there in this online mode. But everyone called it dub. So yeah, uh, just call it dub. And Apple gives a lot of brownie points to you if you have done your design part good. So a lot of developers take part in this contest, but us developers have this thing that once our functionalities are good and working, we tend to leave the like endpoints hanging. Okay, it's cool, the thing is working, the functionality is nice, the algorithm is really good, I have done this, but if it's not pleasant to the end user, you know that Apple won't give a damn about it. We know that Apple is late to the front in terms of, say, for example, frames per second or anything which was there in Android. Apple was a bit late to the playground. But the primary reason behind it is they polish those things to the very end. Like they want the developers to do the same. Like they want the playgrounds to be as pretty or as presentable as possible. So yeah, do give a lot of attention to that if you are taking part in this competition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think like we can have a side discussion on another interest of yours, which is also like something we at DSC KIIT are also exploring, is Web3, right? Web3 NFTs. So like, what are you looking at these days? Are you learning something new? Just tell us about what are you exploring in that domain, and we can discuss on that. Yeah.
Sure. So, are you guys as DSC Kit, are you trying to start a crypto wing or like a blockchain wing as well? Like trying to teach folks about crypto?
So
like, what is it that you guys are trying to do?
So we were thinking like to include this as part of the web team itself, right? It's related to web. It needs a lot of context from web. So we were like, a few folks at web were thinking like, okay, we could do some sessions around it, like, talk about smart contracts, talk about like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and also like talk about how wild it has been and all the NFT gold rush and all that. So yeah, we were thinking, and we were. I remember you talking about starting a similar club around blockchain. So yeah, that's what we were thinking. So would love to know more. Like, what do you think about how we can approach and just educate people around this? Have some sessions, something like that.
Sure. So first of all, if you guys go ahead in that front, I'll be really happy. Like our college definitely needs a crypto club or like a blockchain related club. We were trying to fill that gap, but due to the busy schedules of all the 3 founding members who were trying to start that club, we were not able to pull it off till the end. But yeah, so there is this book called Mastering Ethereum. So it is by a writer who has also written another book called Mastering Bitcoin, and the crypto community itself has donated 10 bitcoins to this folk for the amount of work and like contribution he has done to the like industry, and that's a very good starting point. I'll definitely recommend that. And the projects which I'm generally most optimistic about right now is definitely Ethereum and Matic. So Matic was something which I have been looking around since it was, if I talk economically, it was around 8 or 16 at that point of time, and I have been looking and investing some portions of my assets into that thing as well. But so the problem which Matic tries to solve is a real problem, that the gas fees is definitely very high, and we can't have the mainnet solving or like encrypting and decrypting every particular transaction which happens on the mainnet. There has to be a subnet which takes care of the other things, and the mainnet is like the governance body which is at the top and governs everything, that everything is functioning and working fine. So Matic solves that, and that's why I like Matic. Apart from that, Chainlink is also something I'm really positive about, because if you look into Web3, there will be an information overload in the near future in terms of the servers in Web3, and every transaction or every information transaction which will happen in the blockchain world, Chainlink can play a major role in that. So I'm really optimistic about that as well. I haven't had a chance to look into the metaverse right now. So a lot of folks are talking about Sandbox, and there's this other coin which is also revolving around the metaverse, but I haven't had a chance at it, so I'm not really sure about it. Also, the whole concept of metaverse seems something which is possible, but it will take some amount of time. So yeah, my main bets are Ethereum and Matic and Solana as well, because Solana is another chain which is also trying to solve the same problem which Ethereum is solving, but in a different manner. And a lot of, so my particular way of looking at any project or any particular crypto is how many devs are actively working on that. I don't look at the metrics in terms of the financial amount like they are generating or anything like that. I look at the devs who are working. So Solana is doing a really good job in terms of that. Like they are marketing very aggressively to the developers, not the end users, which is something which not a lot of chains are doing. They just want people to buy and hope that something good happens, and then we all will be millionaires. But that won't happen. Like, it won't happen overnight magically if there are no developers developing something which is worth the end users, so that the general public also moves to the Web3. So yeah, these
Yeah.
are my main bets.
So yeah, adding on to what you said about Solana, I remember like talking to a few devs, and like so, what Solana does is, if you attend a Solana hackathon that they kind of sponsor or organize, and they like your project, they'll actually fund it. So you'll like upfront get funding to work on that project, and build maybe a product out of it. So yeah, Solana is really like pushing on the developer part. So yeah, I'm
Correct.
excited. I'm excited about Solana, and also like some of the. So we were like, I was talking to someone in the team about what can we talk about in terms of
Mhm.
just a segue from even back-end engineering, right? So stuff like IPFS or ARV, they are like at its core, they are just distributed
Mhm.
technologies. So we can just start talking about distributed systems, and then just bring those topics in and be like, okay, this is what's powering Web3, what like a what a smart contract looks like, stuff like that. So yeah, we'll definitely get in touch. Maybe have you on as a guest speaker sometimes. I'm happy like to find finally some seniors who are actually interested in this stuff. A lot of
Yeah.
people just like are worried about placements right now. But yeah, cool. I think we can move on.
Also, one other point to add
Yeah.
on to this.
Hmm.
So I have a friend who was a part of the ETH India Fellowship which took place.
Oh, okay.
So, if anyone who is listening to this podcast is really interested about cryptography or like blockchain in general, do try to apply for ETH India Fellowship. It's a really good platform, and you'll get to meet a lot of interesting folks who are doing real work. So there were like I had a discussion with him regarding this, and there were folks from US or like UK who are actually in the system. There were speakers from like Matic and like Polygon, obviously. There were a lot of folks who come to those discussions, and you can directly talk to them and discuss about your ideas. So if you're interested into blockchain, then ETH India Fellowship is a must to apply.
Hmm. Awesome. And adding on top of that, if you are looking for hackathons, DevFolio has a nice list of all the hackathons you can participate in. So that's pretty cool too. Um,
Yeah, Devfolio.
mhm.
Yeah. So I don't know if this will be a part of it, but the club which we are trying to inculcate, Devfolio is actually a really good platform. They were ready to come on board and take care of the logistic sides of it, and make it possible, like the
Mhm.
blockchain club in KIT. But
Yep.
since due to our time constraints and limitations, we weren't able to pull it off at the end. But yeah, Devfolio is also something which is quite nice. We had a discussion with the founders and the team of Devfolio, and they were excited about the opportunities, and they are looking forward to developers who are working in this ecosystem. And one other point, it's not just about the web developers or the backend engineers. Even if you are a UI UX designer, so
Yeah.
if you look at Web3 right now, one of the biggest challenges, the not the user interface, but the user experience is not really good. If you do any transaction, then you need to open MetaMask, and then you need to enter your key, and like it's a bit, the process is a bit tedious, and a lot of senior folks in this community as well are trying to push on the fact that we need more UI UX folks to come on board and try to change the experience per se and make it more seamless for the end user, so that the shift from web 2 to web 3 for a end user who does not know much about the technology is also smooth.
Yep. Yep. You can ask the
मैं
next
ज्यादा
question.
बोल दिया क्या? मैं बहुत ज्यादा बोल रहा हूँ क्या?
नहीं,
नहीं नहीं ठीक है. अनुष्का just like
I'm a
can
clueless person over here right now.
no ठीक है. We
हाँ
can move on to
I'm a
the
clueless person over here right now, so I'm just taking in everything and I'm just making mental
हाँ,
notes about everything. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Even I have not like looked at. So what happens now? Ki if you start looking into blockchain or say for example NFTs, I was doing NFTs initially. So I also minted one NFT 4 or 5 months ago. Uh, NFTs to me were really appealing at that point of time because I'm primarily a photographer as well. I really like to click photos and like do creative work. And the pitch which NFTs do is there will be a digital copy of an NFT and it will be an exclusive one which tells that hey, this individual has made this, and like it basically represents your digital identity. So I tried to get on board, but once you start learning about it, it's really addictive. Like once you get into that loop, you'll just you might get sucked into it. So yeah, NFTs are also cool.
Yep.
There is one senior called Sabnik. He's also from our batch. He has sold 2 NFTs. So folks from our college are doing really good in terms of the Web3 part of things. So yeah, there are a lot of opportunities if you're doing photography, videography, animations, 3D rendering, I don't know, music, anything. Like if it's creative in any way, shape or form, then I mean you can go ahead and try to put your best foot forward.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have a we'll have a look at what we can do, because I know just like DevFolio, you reach out to DevFolio. There is Questbook as well, who is like really into helping students start up college chapters around this. So I had a chat with someone from the the Questbook community team, and they were like, yeah, if you want to start up a college chapter, just let us know, shoot us an email, we'll help you out. So yeah, a lot of opportunity and exciting stuff there. We'll definitely come back to this maybe in some other episode with you.
Sure.
Yeah.
How was your first year when you started the college? How was your first year when you said you were indulged in the development more and you were more into co-curricular activities and things that others were not doing? How did you turn to the development side? How did you turn that way? Shifting
Sure.
from the curricular, the syllabus to the development part. How?
Cool. So, primarily, when I was in college, apart from classes, I didn't study much. So, in classes, I used to study sincerely. Like, I was always the first bencher who was there, listening to what the teacher is telling. It was not very glorious. I was trying to learn things which not a lot of college folks really appreciate. But I got to know that it's not worthwhile once the lockdown happened. So if I'll give the full credits to the lockdown, like if the lockdown wouldn't have happened, I might have still been there studying for my examinations or things like that. But once the lockdown happened and I was completely bored of the online classes, like they really made no sense. We are just sitting in front of a computer, not even paying attention, and we are just wasting our time. And I like it was
So
not
basically, it
worth
was about the lockdown.
Yeah,
The
it was
lockdown
about
that happened. It gave everyone time.
correct. And secondly, in college, I was involved in a lot of co-curriculars, right? So I never had time to do development. I was always like, I'll go into something which is not development because I never gave it a fair shot. But I liked co-curricular modes. Like I was anchoring, or I was narrating, or photography, like everything which I could think of. I even did one stand-up. Like I was just trying to be out there and do something creative. So I had that inclination, and I never gave equal amount of dams or importance to dev or the technical side of things. But once the lockdown happened, I had no opportunities, right? Like I couldn't go out for photography or do an open mic or record. Like it was just me in my room, bored and
Bored.
like feeling existential. So
Yeah. So well,
everything happened.
the colleges are reopening, and the students will not have that time of the bored wala time and where they can get bored and then they can just have the time for the development part. Is there like anything that we can do while we are in college that would help us with shifting from the curricular to the development? Is it like we consciously have to pay attention on that section, or like is college hectic that gives us less opportunity for the development part?
So, college is definitely hectic in the offline sense. I mean, you have to go to the classes, you need to wake up, and like there are a lot of other things which are not important, but you end up doing them. You like this will sound really bad, but you spend time with your friends. You're roaming around Patia Road and enjoying, right? And those things do take time. Like we don't really think about it, but it's like, oh, we are living the college life, this will never come again, and things like that. But they are eventually taking your time, so you need to have that call. And more importantly, that call is not something you can force upon yourself. According to me, it will come naturally. Like say now we had this lockdown wala thing happen to us. In the future there will be something else which might happen, like not a global pandemic I'm hoping, but something which might reinvigorate the folks to go out and do something else again. So just uh, be open, like be open to opportunities and have an open mind about it. Once you have that, you will look at things in a more rational manner, and you might end up doing that. Also, if that does not happen, that does not mean it's the end of the world. Like college is so, while talking about the fact that spending time with friends and roaming around is also time consuming, for me it won't happen again because I don't want to go into college again. Like I won't pursue a master, so college life for me is done per se, right? So spending that time is also equally important. It might be that once you are in college, it might take a year or two more to be where you want to be, but that does not mean you have not achieved it. So be in the moment, be open, and just enjoy the thing which you are doing. That's very vague, but that's what it is.
I mean, that's something that is very motivating, though. That's
Yeah.
something very motivating. Because when like the colleges are starting, everybody is excited about going to college, but then there are some students who are having this second thought: ki, will we get that time of working on what we want to work? And there is people are scared, a little scared. So yeah.
So honestly, I am part of the second clan as well. So we have been having this debate for more than 2 years now. That okay, there's this mail from KIIT ki colleges are reopening. We're like, yay, college will reopen. We'll meet our friends. And I was always that kid saying ki no, bro, we don't want to go back. We'll just end up wasting time. But now when I think about it in hindsight, I might have been where I am right now a year or two later if I would have been equally consistent. But college will not happen for me again. It's a chapter which is done now. Like it's not.
Yeah.
I can't play a rewind button on it. So yeah, it's equally important to enjoy the
The
moment.
experience is equally important.
Yeah.
Cool. I think I'll start. The next question is around placements and around advice. We had a wonderful chat till now, so I'll just ask you that what's that one final piece of advice you would like to give juniors and around placements and in like life as well, general. So yeah, what would you say to someone in first year or second year that who's trying to figure out stuff?
Okay. Okay. So if there are definitely different advices for based on what year you are in. If you're in first or second year, just be in the, as I said right now, be in the moment. Try to learn new things, and in the process, if you find something you really like, then you will be motivated to do things in that particular domain. Like I see a lot of memes right now, which my friends share that hey, it's Monday again, we need to start working. Yeah, ye ho gaya, Jira ticket, bro. Aisa. Like I see a lot of those memes, but personally, I don't relate to them because I wait for Mondays to come back so that I can start working on the things which I was working on again. If you find something you are that passionate about, it's sorted. Like even if there are setbacks, you will say ki, okay, this moment might not be the best for me, but I like doing this, so why will I settle for something else, or why would I try to adjust?
It won't be a
Obviously this
burden.
comes from you won't feel burdened, and this comes from a place of privilege. Like, I know there will be folks who have certain responsibilities and they need to fulfill those responsibilities. But if you don't have those responsibilities, or you are willing to take the risk, then please take it. Like, the sooner you take the risk, the better it is for you.
Yeah. And what
That's
about the
the
placements that are going on? The placements.
Yeah. So for me, I have not appeared in any of the college placements. I had one discussion with my friends regarding this. They were like, "Ki, why are you doing this? There are so many good companies coming up. Just fill the form. Like, what happens? Just fill the form. Kuch nahi hoga. If you get shortlisted, go and talk to them. Go and talk to the interviewer. What's the worst thing which can happen?" I'm like, if I'm not motivated to be at that position, why would I waste my time or the interviewer's time to, get past it? I like doing iOS development, and I was very open to the fact that if I see something which is related to iOS in college, I will apply for it. But since I didn't see anything, I didn't apply. So, for me, people take a lot of glory in saying that, hey, I have done 1,000 interview, or I apply for everything which is there. If you don't like that thing, then applying and even getting say for there's X company which is coming up with a role for Java development, and I'm doing iOS. Somehow I make it through, and the CTZ is also nice, and I'm a part of the team now, and they have assigned me a project. But that project is the worst nightmare for me. Then even if I'm getting paid well, I'm not happy, right? So what's the point of that? So don't just apply for the sake of applying. If you like the thing, and be open to off-campus opportunities, because generally if you have found the thing which you like doing, you will get very good opportunities off-campus, like specific. So on campus is generally more generic, like the interview process and everything is not focused around dev. It's more about you as an individual, or DSC side of thing. I might be wrong since I have not been a active part of the interview process, but that's what I have heard from my seniors and my friends as well, that it's more generic. So if you have something which you really like doing, show the world that you like it and go for off-campus opportunities. That will be really helpful for you. Yeah.
Cool. Like, just +1 to all of that. Like, just like, it was, you put it very beautifully. This is what we have been trying to just put out via this podcast and just talking to people. Thank you so much. I don't think we have any more questions. Thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us. It was a lovely episode. I'm sure our audience will love it. Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Just some audience things. If you are watching this on YouTube or Spotify, please ensure to like, share, and subscribe. If you think this this episode might help your friends, do share it, and we'll link Darshil's all the social profiles, GitHub, everything in the description, and we'll put out
Also the books that he mentioned.
the books he mentioned, the resources, his
Everything.
WWDC submission, everything will be there in the description. You can have a look. You can ping him on Twitter or LinkedIn. He's very active on Twitter, I know. So just ping him there, ask him questions, get any advice if you want. Cool. Thank you so much, Darshil.
Thanks. Always looking for more social validation. So anyone who wants to hit me up, do feel free.
Awesome.